Yo, what's going on, guys? Crispy Flakes here. Welcome to Extra Crispy. For today's video, we got a video by Austin Sweat ranking the best small forwards from every NBA team all time. So, you know, top ones just off the top of my mind right here. LeBron James, number 1. Larry Bird, number 2. Tayshaun Prince, number 3. You're probably looking at Dr. J, Scottie Pippen, you know, that 4 and 5 spot around there, man. So just some predictions, but let's go and hop into this and see how, see what's all about.
Ranking the all-time best small forward from every NBA.
I always like small forwards.
For the other positions,
small forwards are very cool, very cool people.
In case you missed those, a quick heads up for the rules are that a player can only be used for one team, and most of the time that'll be for whichever team they played best for in their career.
Yeah, yep.
And the rankings are based off of how good they played for that one team. So let's go.
Sounds
Number
good.
30, Tyreke Evans for the Pelicans.
Damn, Tyreke!
This is just sad. No comment.
Yeah, I mean, wow. When your best small forward is a point guard, that's rough, man. And he is a point guard. I mean, he played point guard a lot in college, you know, a little shooting guard too. And then eventually it's like, fuck, man, we're gonna throw you a small forward, but we gotta put you somewhere, man. Wow. Oh, wow. Okay, I probably would have took. Yeah.
29, Corey Maggette for the Clippers.
Hey, not bad.
You probably weren't expecting this since the Clippers currently have both Paul George and Kawhi Leonard on the roster.
Yeah, not long enough.
The only reason one of them doesn't take this spot is because they'll be mentioned for other teams. Maggette was good though, but it's still also sad that this spot for the Clippers.
Where's Paul George going to be at? It's not going to be OKC. And I'm going to take me some Danny Granger on the Pacers.
But him. 28, the Orlando Magic with Hedo Turkoglu. So as you can
that
tell,
dude was a
Orlando
beast.
hasn't had many great small forwards either. But for those Dwight Howard-led Magic teams, Hedo was a 40% three-point shooter that would occasionally transition between
What about
power forward and
T-Mac?
small
Is he
forward,
a shooting guard?
which is how he ranks here. And he was always one of the most reliable guys on those early 2010 teams. 27, the Nets with Richard Jefferson. Trust me, the list does get better, but Jefferson does deserve this spot. He was never an all-star, but he did play a big part in some of the Nets' playoff pushes and getting them to that point in
he always put up like
2000s. He was a 20-point per game scorer
numbers
in his best years, and
that's all I got for
definitely
him.
peaked as a player in New Jersey. 26, the Grizzlies with Sharif Abdul-Rahim, who played most of his career.
Yeah, oh yeah, Sharif. He's a small forward? I thought he was a power forward. Okay.
But had a few solid seasons as a small forward too. 25, Kiki Vandeweghe for the Trailblazers. Definitely the Blazers.
Kiki, Dio. I don't know the song. I don't know the song, man. Kiki, Dio. I don't know.
24, the Wizards and Caron Butler. For most of Caron's career, he was a role player, but during his time in Washington,
he was an all-star.
Antoine Jamison and Gilbert Arenas,
wasn't he?
He was a near star-level player and a 2-time All-Star, as a matter of fact.
So I
he
thought
was always a third option on that team. But
Brendan Haywood,
enough to make
Sean Stevenson. That was the team.
Small forward, aside from anyone who will make this list for other teams. 23, Wally Szczerbiak for the Timberwolves.
Yo, Wally, yeah, I talked about him.
Andrew Wiggins here, even though Wally never averaged over 20 points a game in his
he turned into a damn robot, save
mankind.
mankind.
For consistently helping lead his team to wins, alongside Kevin Garnett in both the regular season and the playoffs. Something.
Yo, what about Latrell Sprewell?
The Heat with Jimmy Butler. Okay, only played half a season for the Heat, but
wasn't I'm thinking of the man, what player am I thinking of? Glenn Rice or Glenn Robinson, man. Too many damn Glens. And both of them were three-point shooters. Was it Glenn Robinson that played for the Heat? I don't remember.
We're still ranking him here because, as we saw in that half of the season, Butler took a team full of young guys to the 4th seed in the East. And I mean, without him, you gotta mention that they wouldn't have ended up anywhere near that spot. Plus, he was an all-star this year, and we know enough about Jimmy to say that he deserves at least this ranking. 21, the now Oklahoma City Thunder, previously Seattle Supersonics with Rashard Lewis. Alright, obviously Kevin Durant would go here, but spoiler alert, I'm ranking him in the Warriors spot, so we're giving this one.
Yo, you should have gave the Warriors spot to Chris Mullin.
Ray Allen in his time in Seattle. And honestly, the two of them made for a lethal duo. In Rashard's best season, both himself and Ray were all-stars and averaged nearly 40% from 3 on over 20 points a game. Definitely putting him as OKC's best small forward, right behind KD, who, as I mentioned, we'll mention later on. 20, the Bucks with Marquise Johnson. And people know.
Yo, what about Chris Middleton?
Nobody really ever talks about Marquise Johnson as the Bucks.
Bro, what does it mean in a small forward Bucks nobody wants to talk about? No, nobody talk about Marquise Johnson. Nobody talks about Chris Middleton. Nobody talked about, man, what other small forwards that they had? I don't know. Nobody ever talked about him. I don't remember.
Best small forward.
I don't remember.
And no, we're not going to give the spot to Giannis because all of his dominance has come at power forward, while his short time at small forward isn't enough.
Yo, it could have been Middleton, though. An all-star?
19. The Hornets with Glenn Rice. And this is when the list really starts to pick up. And let me just point out here that Glenn played in Charlotte for 3 seasons, was an all-star for all 3 of them, averaged 27 a game in the playoffs one year, and in his best regular season with them,
damn, 27 points
a game on 47%.
Yo, that's my type of red arrow, as Flight would say.
Game. The man's definitely.
I use that red arrow for everything.
The Rockets with Tracy McGrady. All right, I know what you're thinking. Probably that T-Mac is an all-time great and should be ranked a lot higher. But that's for his entire career. During his Rockets days specifically, and even more specifically the ones where he actually played,
I would put him on the Magic.
Forward, it was filled with injuries and first-round exits,
shooting guard,
which just really hurt his ranking, even though he was as good as he was. 17, the Mavs and Mark Aguirre. Aguirre's a pretty
this is the guy that he just reminds me of like a baseball name, man. Mark Aguirre. It just sounds like he should be playing some damn baseball.
Player, but Luka Doncic won't be in a few years, which is why
he'll be playing for like damn Tennessee Titans or something.
Down the
pitcher.
Line. And speaking of underrated, 16, and Adrian Dantley for the Jazz is another one of those guys. He averaged 30 points a game for 4 straight seasons at one point, but I mean the underrated part comes in because in 3 of those seasons Utah wasn't even able to win over 30 games. Number 15,
stat batter.
Knicks and Bernard King. You might have expected Melo here, but don't worry, he'll be making an appearance later on. For Bernard though, the man got to New York and was on his way to becoming
his head's literally shaped like a square.
Any more excited to see that happen than when he was putting up 32 a game on the season?
Not him, the guy behind him.
In 1985. But
now
that came to an immediate halt when he tore his ACL halfway through that year, then got traded soon after. Then we have the Kings at number 14 for Peja Stojakovic.
Wow.
And during his time on the Kings as a second option to Chris Webber,
I really do like Peja a lot. You know, growing up playing NBA Live, he was like an actual legit cheat code. I mean, seriously, like the dude made every single damn 3. He was a lot of fun to watch. He's got one of my favorite passes of all time. You know, a ball going out of bounds, he like whips behind his back. I feel like this is a little too high for him, though. I feel like it's a little bit too high. All things considered.
Stojakovic is one of the best sharpshooters in the NBA that could create his own shot and was so good that he won 2 3-point contests while he was there and made the All-Star team 3 times. And for now, he easily beats out guys like Rudy Gay and Tyreek Evans. 13, the Suns with Sean Marion.
Oh, the Matrix.
Might seem a little high, but let's not forget
that
how
jump
good
shot.
This man was in his prime.
Look at that jump shot.
Both ends, all around as a player, he dominated and helped lead the Suns.
Love that shit, man.
Playoff runs. I mean, on offense, Marion would average nearly 20 a game, while on defense, he was always his team's best all-around defender and would often lead his team in blocks.
Fantasy basketball people know him, man.
Guys like Amari Stoudemire were on the team. He was the epitome of a team player, and his all-around game is why he ranks this high. Then we have the Pistons at number 12 with Grant Hill.
Number 12? Bro, he needs to be top 6 at least. Seriously, Grant Hill, people were calling him the next Michael Jordan. Before LeBron James, obviously, because LeBron James wasn't, well, he was alive. He was probably like 2 years old or whatever, man. But straight up, Grant Hill was like supposed to be like the next Michael Jordan. You know, just people were so pissed off at the Bad Boys that, you know, we had this great thing coming to us with Grant Hill, you know, and, you know, Michael Jordan already salty about the Bad Boys and stuff like that. So players literally would go after Grant Hill, you know, trying to injure him and stuff like that, man. Just because they didn't want the Pistons to have, you know, another dynasty. You know, then 2004 happened, though.
And had it not have been for injuries...
Can't hold us back too long. Detroit versus everybody.
Right as Michael Jordan was retiring for the second time. And it was being said that Grant was going to be the guy to take over after MJ was gone.
Yep.
I mean, that's how good he was, and that's how
Cam, nice things in Detroit.
Potential being. But he's another guy that just couldn't escape injuries. Number 11, though,
bullshit.
Paul George for the Pacers.
Over Grant Hill?
Not because there was any competition for PG at small forward for the Pacers, but deciding which team to rank him for.
What did Paul George do on the damn Pacers?
City Thunder, sure, he only played for 2 seasons, but in 2019, PG averaged 29 points a game while finishing top 3 in MVP and Defensive Player of the Year.
But that was on OKC.
It was hard to say overall that his time in Indiana was
LeBron's
better,
bitching
comparing the East. 2 bodies of work, I mean, you got to remember that he nearly led the Pacers to the NBA Finals in 2 consecutive years. If it wasn't,
Tayshaun Prince led the damn Pistons to the Eastern Conference Finals 6 years in a row.
for LeBron James, while Donovan Mitchell and Damian Lillard knocked him out of the first round while on the Thunder. Number 10, the Denver Nuggets' greatest small forward of all time goes to Carmelo Anthony. And yes, I'd say his time on the Nuggets was much better than his years in New York. I mean, in Denver, he was praised by the entire league and thought of as one of the very best small forwards in the NBA behind LeBron James. While in New York, he only made the playoffs 3 out of 7 seasons and got pretty much unanimously known as a ball hog around the league once the years really went on. 9. The Atlanta Hawks with Dominique Wilkins. The human highlight film is without a doubt the most iconic Hawks player of all time, and without question their greatest small forward. And for the majority of his career, he was one of the top scorers and all-around players throughout the entire NBA. He could compete with all the greats, and remains one of the greatest to never win a championship, which is kind of a backhanded compliment, but he's still a Hall of Famer, so it's okay. Number 8,
that shit happens.
The Spurs with George Gervin, who did make the video for shooting guards as well, but he played 5 seasons at shooting guard and 7 at small forward, and was equally dominant at
Man, you should have given Manu last video. You should have given Manu the shooting guard spot then.
both, no matter where he was on the court.
Should have given Manu the shooting guard
as I
spot.
mentioned, one of the best scorers of all time. Then there's number 7, which goes to the Lakers for Elgin Baylor. Now LeBron would obviously take this one, but he's going to rank in for another team. And Baylor definitely ranks in here over James Worthy, because even though he played in the 60s
what about Luke Walton?
won a championship, the 38 and 18 that he averaged in one
Shares
season
the same name as Luke Leonard.
Number 6 though goes to Kawhi Leonard
Good for top 7.
Raptors. And I know this one's controversial. For one, because you might have thought Kawhi would rank in for the Spurs, and for 2, because he's ranking this high after only playing 1 season for the Raptors. But as we know, in that season he led them to the NBA.
Was one of the greatest single seasons ever.
Up until
the greatest,
this point,
probably.
led their team to a championship. Kawhi was the only one to do it. That's why I ranked him here and put his Raptors days over his Spurs days. I mean, sure, he did win one with the Spurs and had a lot of good years with them, but it wasn't until his last couple of seasons there that he was the true leader of that team. And I do have to mention, a lot of people discredit Kawhi's championship because the Warriors only had Steph Curry and Draymond due to losing KD and Klay to injuries. But you can't discredit it because injuries are a part of it. I mean, I'm sure the Warriors being in the finals so many years in a row played a big part in those two getting injured. And it's not like we discredit their finals appearance in 2016 because Kawhi got injured against them.
Yep.
What was looking like the Spurs were going to blow them out. Or in 2018 when Chris Paul got injured
at least
right
in game
before
1.
Game 7. The Warriors definitely benefited from other players being injured, and in this instance, so did the Raptors with Kawhi. So I get if you disagree with this one, but that's my take on it. Then there's not really too much arguing for the top 5, though. The number 5 spot goes to Scottie Pippen and the Chicago Bulls.
Yep, top 50
I
player,
would say
right?
Kawhi Leonard is an overall better
Maybe not
player
now.
than Scottie. He has the same aggressive defense while being all
Needs
around
to
better
list.
on offense. But comparing his Bulls days with 6 championships against Kawhi's 1 in Toronto, there's no way he was ranking higher than Scottie. And that's why Scottie ranks so high. He was the second option on that team, but almost nobody in this entire video has the amount of playoff experience and experience with winning championships as Pippen does. And combined with his skill,
How many do you think Kawhi would have won, though, if he was playing with MJ?
that's a very valuable
Just point that out.
asset. Number 4, the 76ers with Julius Erving, who is also most people's pick for the greatest 76ers player of all time. And Dr. J was an all-star
Bro, Allen
every
Iverson says
single
hello,
one of his
man.
11 years that he played in Philly. And as a matter of fact, he was an all-star every single year of his career. He was a guy known for his high-flying, above-the-rim style of play, similar to Vince Carter and LeBron James. And also similar to them, he was very
No.
consistent
Vince
throughout
and
his
LeBron
career.
similar
He
to
won
Dr.
one
J.
MVP, 1 championship, and in his worst season in the league, which was his last, he still managed to average 16 points a game. Number 3, the Warriors with Kevin Durant. Okay, we know how good KD is. We know the type of player he is. And based on his whole career, I would very
OKC Kevin Durant is better than bitch-ass Durant because at least OKC Durant had heart out there, man. Bitch-ass Durant, which is the Golden State Warriors version, it's just not the same. Not the
strongly
same.
consider putting him ahead of Larry Bird on this list. But based on the fact that he only played 3 seasons for the Warriors and won 2 championships, I gotta rank Larry ahead of him based on how long and effective he was in Boston. As for KD though, the decision to rank him for the Warriors' best small forward as opposed to OKC's best came down to the fact that I think he was just able to show he was a much better overall player while winning championships for Golden State than he did while winning an MVP on the Thunder. Then, as I mentioned, Larry Bird's at number 2 for the Celtics. I mean, I couldn't.
Bro, Larry Bird's jump shot is so whack, man. Yo, what's he smoking?
3 championships, 3 straight
damn
MVPs,
Slim Jim.
and was a 12-time All-Star in Boston. All while being the best shooter and one of the best scorers in the league during his years in the
I'm gonna start
prime
shooting
of
like
his
that.
career.
Just
having also won 3
very
consecutive
nonchalant,
three-point
just
contests
put it up
between
there.
86 and 88. I mean, sure, Bird was kind of on a super team for his 3 championships too, but it wasn't anything near the super team that...
But Larry was the super team. Durant joined a super team, so it was
the
different.
Warriors had. Robert Parrish was a good scorer, but primarily a defender, while Kevin McHale was clearly the team's second option. And obviously that makes number 1 LeBron James for the Cavaliers.
No argument here.
And I don't need to say anything on this one. But I will say that the decision to rank him on the Cavs spot, rather than for the Heat, was an easy one. He did win more titles and 3 out of his 4 championships while in Miami, which is a pretty convincing argument for someone to think that he did deserve to be ranked here for the Heat. But I mean, he averaged...
When I think of
better
LeBron, I
stats
think
in
of
his
Cleveland.
first run in Cleveland, and in his second run, his championship win against the Warriors meant way more than either of his 2 for the Heat. Plus, all of his final runs with very limited rosters spoke even more about him as a player than one could have imagined.
All right, guys, that's all we got. Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comment section below.